Hey guys, just recording a quick video preparing for 2026. I'm going to try and keep this as quick as possible. There's only a few slides to go through, but I'm essentially going to look at the trends and relevant insights as to what's going to be the biggest game changes in 2026 in the marketing space, and also loosely within the kind of corporate business space too. So I'm just going to jump straight into it. The three things that I'll be looking at is the seasonal calendar, forecasting the impact of AI as that continually changes year on year, and the need for strategic creativity. In terms of the sales calendar, this is something that you should be doing year on year anyway. But looking at 2026, end of financial year will be, as always, at the end of June. And then obviously it can roll into early July. Like the end of the financial year is the end of June, but in terms of sales, promotions, and utilizing that seasonal calendar to the advantage of a business, Prime Day will fall shortly afterwards in mid-July. Click Frenzy will likely be in August. It hasn't been announced yet. Black Friday, Cyber Monday are 27th of the 11th. So Black Friday will be on that 27th. And then the Monday will be on the 30th for Cyber Monday. Christmas is obviously, it is the 25th of December, but this Christmas sale period and how you can utilize that messaging, I would generally say runs for the entirety of December, or even if you're being a bit more ambitious, you can actually run it from the end of November after Black Friday straight into Christmas messaging, and then Boxing Day is on the 26th of the 12th. Now, I was talking to Google Rep about this, and I do believe they've also sent out a report in relation to the demand that they see through each of the sale periods within Australia. And what used to be Boxing Day is the biggest has now been overtaken quite comfortably by Black Friday, which shouldn't come as a surprise because anyone within the marketing space at the moment, or even within like the kind of e-commerce space, will understand how much demand and conversation and spend there is around Black Friday, pretty much since COVID now, compared to what we saw in the past when Boxing Day was the biggest ad and spend opportunity for e-commerce businesses. But essentially, it goes Black Friday, Cyber Monday, end of financial year, and then Boxing Day. So Boxing Day has actually been overtaken by not just Black Friday, but also end of financial year. And again, Black Friday took over due to the kind of seasonality increase that kind of came from America's reliance on it as a promotional period, which then obviously took off in Australia and across the world. But I do think also because Boxing Day is quite close to it, end of financial year basically being half a year apart, provides a greater opportunity, which is brands can split their sales up. So instead of going really hard for end of Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and then a month later going just as hard for Boxing Day, where you've got basically a 30-day window where you are slashing prices nonstop, you can split it out over the year and also across different products based on seasons, product launches, what you've got in your inventory. So big sale for end of financial year, big sale for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and then normally a smaller sale for Boxing Day. But I would advise essentially being across these dates and having your plan and your calendar put in place as early as possible. We do ours for our clients basically now, which is why I'm releasing this video. Clients will get this video and then we'll work on the calendar from here. But essentially, yeah, also understand the difference between what you want to run in terms of promotions for those periods to make sure you are doing it as profitably as possible and not just slashing prices, as like a blanket sale that can then impact your overall profitability. Moving on to the integration of AI. Now, again, the nature and landscape of this is changing constantly. Everyone is obviously across it, thoroughly, given it is like the buzzword or has been for the last few years now. But the things within the AI space to keep a close eye on is the release of Google Gemini 3 and ChatGPT 5. Everything moves a lot faster. The platforms, they compound learnings much, much quicker. And it is a much stronger AI tool to use than what we've seen in the past from those same platforms. So they are going to be better and more effective. There's also a lot more that you can kind of do with it in terms of like coding and guidance that you can provide, and the fact that you can now kind of create your own GPTs through these platforms. And then, yeah, given the fact that they've enhanced the platform that they have to do that, I do think people will be able to extrapolate learnings much, much faster and much more effectively through these platforms. The progression of agentic AI is also something that is continually growing, but I do think will have a huge impact primarily on efficiency, because it essentially means that humans will have less of an input on the AI process to get the results and what they need. So for example, if I was to send an email, like historically through like ChatGPT as an example, you would say something like, hey ChatGPT, I need to send an email to this person. This is what it's about. This is what I need it to kind of cover. Can you send me a response as to what I can send? ChatGPT spits it out, you copy it, you paste it into your email, and then you start making adjustments to make it not sound like AI. Remove some M dashes, remove some emojis, change the terminology. Okay, is that all approved? Cool, someone has a look, that's all good. You send it out. You will now integrate AI through through APIs. And basically what can happen is with agentic AI, you can tell it what you need and it will actually do the workload for you. And again, there's a lot of different spaces in which that can impact businesses and efficiency. So I would definitely keep a close eye on that and how it will progress over time. But that's just a very simple example. But it's basically just the process of AI needing less input from humans, so it can do everything for you. And given that we do have like Google Gemini 3 and ChatGPT 5, where it's a lot smarter, the quality of output is better, and therefore more people, I think, will start trusting it to do that, rather than being like, I still, I'm going to work with AI, I'm going to utilize it, but I'm not going to let it send out things on my behalf, because I really need to be checking that to make sure there's no mistakes, it doesn't look like AI, etc., etc. The progression of synthetic data. So basically what platforms do is they create fake data that revolves or resembles that of the real life data that they have. So it's statistically accurate, but the data is fake, so no one's privacy is risked. But the utilization of that statistical relevance enables the platforms to learn faster, provide relevant insights, and grow exponentially. So apparently, from what I've heard, the statistical accuracy of this is getting better, and the amount that they have is getting greater and greater as well, which will only improve the quality of output and response that people get from these platforms. So I think that's something worth noting as well. And then the further development of generative AI, which will basically help from a marketing point of view or a marketing lens. It'll help creative development for brands. AI creative can be used well. I understand why small brands use it if you don't have the resources to kind of in-house creatives, or don't want to pay a creative agency or UGC creators to provide for you. I can definitely understand why there is a reluctance to have real creative when you can use AI to get you a certain level. Like AI creative, I still think is like not great. Some of them can be good when done really, really well. But if you're a small company and you don't have the budgets and you want creative so you can start running ads, and you'd rather have more money towards spend and get greater creative diversity with limited spend on the creatives, I think that is the best way to do it. And I do understand why small brands will be willing to do that. And I think generative AI getting better and better, and the quality improving day on day, week on week, and now year on year. I do think you'll see more small brands leaning into it, and you may actually see more large brands leaning into it as well. I don't think they should. If you can produce creative for high quality internally, I do think it will always be better. It's hard not to be. But I think a lot of small brands, especially those that are growing rapidly, are going to use generative AI to their advantage, and they are going to create a lot of new ads, and they're going to then have, obviously, when they find those winners, of which there'll be plenty, and they find new audiences, they can scale their brands more effectively. So I think it's a space to watch for smaller businesses. The need for strategic creativity. So essentially, the importance of creativity within ad platforms is greater than it has ever been. So every ad platform, you see it within their kind of text or their descriptions or their suggestions, like they're leaning more heavily into machine learning, AI, and they try to automate as much of the media buying for you. But the main lever that you'll always be able to control is the creative, which, to be fair, they are trying to keep one hand on as well. Hence, you have like Meta Advantage Plus creative optimizations, even though they generally make your ads look a lot worse. And Google also has the automatic asset enhancement, I think it's called. So yeah, I think creative is always going to be the lever that you, the brand, have the most control over. And given they're removing steps in the media buying process for you to control, and even the ones that you can control, like for example, if you segment your audiences through Google and Meta, generally you get stung for it anyway, so you're better off having things broad. So like you can choose certain audiences, interests, etc., but it will increase your CPCs, it will increase your CPMs, and if your AOV and conversion rate don't improve, you're going to lose money overall in terms of efficiency, so you're better off just leaving it broad and letting the platform optimize. So you need to make sure your creatives are as relevant as possible to leverage that. So the things you need to look at is your creative volume. Have you got enough creatives going through the account to test as many audiences as possible, measure what works, and then extrapolate off that ad and scale? Creative clarity. Your messaging needs to be super clear. If your messaging is unclear, it will make it difficult for the platform to understand who you're trying to reach, what you're trying to communicate, and how your product solves a problem, and therefore why people should want to buy your product. So if your messaging is clear, you will reach the right people looking for what you need, and therefore will improve your overall performance as well. The hook and the call to action strength as well are important. So again, you want to make sure you've got a really strong hook for your video assets to ensure that you get attention early and keep it, and your call to action to make sure people know exactly what you're offering, where to go, and what to do. Because it's no good having a good hook with a weak CTA or a weak hook with a good CTA, because if your hook's weak, people won't make it to the call to action anyway. If your call to action is weak, people might watch the video and think that was a good ad, but then they're not actually going to pathway through to do what you need them to do to drive profit for your business. They'll be like, good ad, that's it. So yeah, make sure there's also good diversity between your static and your video assets. And otherwise, the landing page relevance. Make sure for your creatives, your landing page is as relevant as possible. Direct traffic to a product page. And when doing so, make sure it is super clear on site to drive up your conversion rates as much as possible. So the people that do pathway through, they know what they're looking at, they know what the product is, they know why they're going to the website, and then once they make it to that website, they're likely to go and purchase, and you've solved the problem for them. And then from there, different conversation around like retargeting, getting them into your existing customer flows, but you then want to obviously drive up that lifetime value as much as possible. But from my point of view, and from Brown Bear's point of view, these are the three things we're keeping a really close eye on and prepping for at the moment as we work on our strategies for our clients in 2026. So if you're interested, get in touch. We'll obviously like to support you with your brand or your business as well. But otherwise, thank you very much for watching.